During winter and the beginning of spring, the southern right whales begin a journey from the Valdez Peninsula in Argentina towards the coast of Santa Catarina in Brazil. The eastern coast of Uruguay is an ideal place for them to rest, enjoy the mix of fresh water and ocean, and give themselves to each other. This couple doesn't seem to be bothered by the presence of a curious sea lion. Closer to the coast, a whale calf plays with its mother. But this area is not only sought after by this gigantic mammal. Through the air, Chilean flamingos cross invisible borders seeking the lagoons of the Uruguayan eastern coast. They switch this habitat with other brackish lagoons, estuaries and freshwater lagoons in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia and Peru. The pink ones are adults, the grey ones juveniles. They feed in the shallows, placing the front side of their bills on the bottom and filtering the water and mud while pumping it out at the sides, trapping shrimp and other small water creatures. There are 6 species of flamingos in the world. 3 of them can be found in South America. But some birds come from much farther away. They fly over 8,000 miles from the Arctic tundra of Alaska and Canada, where they nest and breed. Only a few weeks old, the chicks begin their first long-distance journey with the adults. Every year, they use the same places to rest and feed. They take an elliptic route, flying south over Western America, the Atlantic coast and the Caribbean, crossing part of the Amazon forest to stay in the Uruguayan East Coast lagoons in the southern spring and summer. These birds are the American Golden-Plover and the buff-breasted Sandpiper, 2 of many bird species that migrates to these wetlands. These migrants make a huge effort to reach the lagoons and to switch polar bears and the Inuit for cows, the gauchos and the rheas for a few months. They are classified as shorebirds, many of which are long-distance migrants. They are generally found near water, as most shorebirds. However, these two species prefer pasture lands near lagoons and lakes. The American golden-plover is about 10 inches long. It has a speckled grey back, a large and round head, and a charming white eyebrow. Its name relates to the golden color of its back while in breeding plumage. During the months it stays in the Arctic, its back turns golden with black plumage from face to below the tail. The buff-breasted sandpiper is smaller, barely bigger than a sparrow. With yellow legs, a short bill, and a cinnamon-colored plumage, in flight they show the intense white of the underside of their outstretched wings. During their stay in the south, they prepare for their return, feeding abundantly and replacing their worn-out feathers with fresh plumage. Eastern Uruguay is an area rich in wetlands, with lagoons and lowlands that cover 400,000 hectares of international importance for conservation, especially as a habitat for waterbirds. They share their habitat with other birds, like the southern lapwing, another typical plover from the Uruguayan grasslands. The saffron yellow finch female sings to attract the males. Meanwhile, a scarlet flycatcher and a white monquita are looking for their dinner. something that the chimango has already achieved. Another migrant that finds his food in shallow waters is the lesser yellowlegs sandpiper. Like the golden-plovers and the buff-breasted sandpipers, these interesting birds also nest and breed in the Arctic tundra of Alaska and Canada. They start to arrive in these lagoons in September, and some stay till late March. They say it was here they learned to tango. To the chimango's disapproval. And the astonishment of the pampa finch. They eat male insects, small fish and crustaceans, among other small creatures they find in the water and the mud. The chimango is not only a great hunter, it eats almost everything, from carrion to lagoon delights. Like this freshwater mussel. Uruguay and East Coast wetlands are well preserved, and they shelter valuable elements of biodiversity in general and shorebirds in particular. This region is essential to preserve and ensure the conservation of these species on a global scale. The black-necked stilt is an elegant resident bird that can be found in the entire continent, alone or in flocks, looking for food in shallow waters. The American golden-plover is always on the alert. Its upright posture and small runs are typical of this bird, as well as its alarm call. It is a great sentinel when danger appears. The pectoral sandpiper can be confused with the buff-breasted sandpiper. Its plumage is similar, but it has a longer bill and legs and is slightly larger. It is common to see it feeding in the water, while the buffies like natural fields of short grass. These migratory birds also nest and breed in the Arctic Circle in Siberia and North America, and remain in the southern hemisphere of America during the austral spring and summer. Preservation of their habitat is of vital importance for the plovers and sandpipers. Human productive activities must necessarily be carried out in total respect for wetlands and their environment. Other indigenous species also depend on human preservation efforts and awareness. The capybara, which lives in groups, is the largest rodent in the world. It lives in wetlands, lagoons and grasslands, like the otter. Hunting and other human activities carried out irresponsibly have reduced their populations and constitute the main threat to the species. At dusk, the golden-plover and the buff-breasted sandpipers go to sleep. But not in trees. They prefer to sleep on the ground. Every year, the golden-plover and the buff-breasted sandpiper fly over 18,000 miles. In 10 years, they travel the distance to the moon. When the sun rises in the Sierras, not far from the lagoons, a group of turkey vultures warm their wings. These scavengers are related to the condor and use thermal columns to rise up in the air. Well, where there is room for 5, there is also room for 6, but not many more. Their flight is an ode to aerodynamics. These Sierra ranges, which collect rain, are strongly linked to lowland wetlands because they constitute the beginning of a rich and diverse life cycle. Although they also feed on seeds, American golden plovers and buff-breasted sandpipers mainly eat insects, like the larvae, which abound in these cow dung-mined fields. Certain crops are sprayed with agrochemicals that affect the habitat, reducing the number of invertebrates, the main food source of the buff-breasted sandpiper. These birds depend on natural grasslands, and the reduction of or damage of these pastures have reduced populations. This is a dry year, and much of the fields are tinged with yellow. Anthills also abound in this area. When the wind gets intense, the anthills are good shelters. As these plovers and sandpipers don't lay eggs here, the tegu lizard doesn't pose a threat to them. This adult sniffs with its tongue in his search for food. The juvenile ones learn the tricks for a safe search. Should I stay or should I go? The sooty tyrannolet avoids the clash. The burrowing owl, though, stays to defend the nest. This family is on the alert, at the ready due to the presence of the reptiles. I am warning you, I've seen you already. Mother Owl sends her brood inside the nest while she stays on alert, keeping an eye on the lizard. In the nest and with his parents watching, it should be safe. Lizards do not have many natural enemies, but as is frequent, irresponsible human behavior can turn into deadly danger. Only a few hours after these images were recorded, this juvenile lizard was run over by a vehicle on a country road. The fact that lizards are not a threat for our plovers and sandpipers doesn't mean that they are exempt from danger. Birds of prey. The crested caracara is one of the most feared around here. It's common to see him approaching the lagoons in search of an easy catch. Like this 9-banded armadillo. The pampa plover stays, as usual, on the alert. The buff-breasted sandpiper seems to rely on the sentinel and feeds calmly, trying not to move too far away from his protector. At the first alarm call from the pampa, everyone flies. The shell of this 9-banded armadillo is too hard even for the bill of the caracara. This time, the tattoo managed to fool them. The caracara goes off to find an easier prey. One pampa sees his intentions and gives the alarm. When the call is heard, all the birds fly. Today is not a good hunting day for the caracara. In this dry year, mortality in the fields favors the scavengers. On this occasion, they feed on a fallen sheep. Without any luck with his hunting, the caracara joins the feast. Uruguay and East Coast lagoons were formed in prehistoric times between 4,000 and 6,000 years ago. When Homo sapiens appeared 300,000 years ago, plovers had already been on the planet for over 50 million years. Approximately since the dinosaurs became extinct. In their journeys crossing America from north to south through the centuries, they lived among the first settlers of our continent. In the lowlands, linked to the wetlands, there are thousands of indigenous hills, ancient mounds dating from over 5,000 years ago, which keep secrets from this region's extinct native cultures. Some indigenous cultures believe that we don't inherit the land from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children. Wetlands around the world are threatened, and plovers and sandpipers are good indicators of their health status. And at the end of summer, with new wings and renewed energy, the journey back to the Arctic tundra begins. That the American golden-plover and the buff-breasted sandpipers keep returning to these fields and wetlands depends on how we use them and how we preserve them. A new 8,000-mile journey awaits them, not devoid of climatic difficulties such as hurricanes, as well as natural predators and human threats. The elliptical return route takes them through the Andes highlands, Central America, USA and Canada. In their night flights, they are guided by the stars.